Hey guys, the Explorer 4 here, Horrorboy465. Welcome back to some more live stream videos, and welcome to the very first episode of Exploring Horror. Basically, what this is, I've been announcing this for a little while. I wrote on my Facebook page and my Twitter as well. So if you guys have been following me on social media, I've been sort of announcing this for a while, and I've been trying to set up, the first episode, but trying to think of new ideas, trying to think of ideas for the first episode. Trying to come up with some ideas. I thought about it for a second, and I was like, well, why not discuss some classic horror films? We'll talk about what makes a horror film a classic, and to give you guys some examples, at least in my opinion, of some classic horror films. We've got quite a big stack right here, some classic horror films. And just discuss, like I said, what makes a horror film a classic, how a film holds up over years and years and considered to be a classic. What makes these movies stand out from the rest? What makes them different? What makes them, like some of the best horror films of all time? Be discussing that a little bit, discussing, about classic horror films. But Exploring Horror, if you guys don't know, Exploring Horror is a brand new series of live streams or videos. Sometimes they can be live streams, sometimes they can be videos, on just some random things to do with the genre of horror. Not necessarily movies. It can be anything. It can be like music. It can be going to locations where either horror movies were shot, which I don't think I'm going to be doing that because it can be quite a lot of traveling. But doing like a random amount of stuff, like either going to investigate an area that's supposedly haunted or something like that, or a random horror vlog, or updating you guys on horror news, or some horror like my opinions on upcoming stuff. And I know I sort of do those videos on my own, but I don't know. Like, it's gonna be a brand new thing, so I'll be coming up with some more ideas as I go along. But some of the stuff I want to try out was like exploring haunted areas, and of course, getting permission from like that to explore haunted areas, or go to places that are supposedly haunted and cursed. And I don't know, I'm gonna be doing that. So I mean, it's something I want to do, but I have to plan a lot for that because I don't want to go investigate an area and I'm not allowed to be there or something like that. So it takes a while for that to happen. But maybe if it's somewhere I can actually go and visit and not worry about getting in trouble and stuff, then I'll go do that. But for right now, I'm just going to stick to discussing random topics about horror films. I can't talk today for some reason. But yeah, it just give me some random stuff, talking about horror films, talking about anything to do with like horror. So it could be like my favorite horror stories, my favorite horror books, discussing, why I think certain films are underrated, and maybe do like an underrated exploring horror video. And this is just episode 1, and I decided to start it off with classic horror films, discussing classic horror films, discussing what makes them classics, and what makes them live on forever and ever in horror history. And I'll be also discussing one of these episodes, will be discussing modern day classics, talking about films today that are made, and talk a little bit about them and what makes them modern day classics and stuff. So some interesting stuff going on, guys. Some interesting stuff coming, and it's gonna be really fun to do, and I can't wait to do it. This is a brand new series of videos we'll be doing. Videos, live streams, stuff like that. I don't know. It's going to be sort of random with this. Just sort of think of it like a mix of like horror-related videos. So like different stuff, different ideas. Something I just sort of wanted to come up with. I was like, well, exploring horror can sort of go beyond movies as well. It can go into other things. It can go to actually exploring haunted areas, or talking about books, and talking about short stories, and horror stories in general, and lots and lots of stuff I can talk about revolves around the genre of horror. So I wanted to do this because it's a little bit more different, to sort of break the schedule. And I really like doing movie reviews. Don't get me wrong, I love doing movie reviews, but I want to do something that's sort of be different, you know, to add a little bit something different to the channel, to add it and something to the channel, you know. And don't worry, I'm still gonna be doing movie reviews because I love doing movie reviews. It's a passion I got, but I want to do something that, you know, is a little bit more different, something a little bit more like new. It's a brand new series of videos we're doing. I don't really have the schedule set up for it right now. It's just a brand new thing, so I got a playlist. I got a playlist created. So if you guys want to watch these videos, you know, if by, you know, years and years from now, if it's by episode like 100 or episode 50 or something, I'll be having these in the playlist, and you guys can watch from like episode 1 to however long this goes on. And the first episode, I want to talk about classic horror films, the horror films that stand out amongst others, the ones that have stood the test of time, the ones that have stood out, the ones that have just been engraved in our memories, and the ones that are just legendary. So discuss those for a little bit. And to give you guys a little bit of examples here, of course, different horror films are for different things. You know, you got found footage, you got slow burn horror films, you got slashers, you got paranormal horror films, you got like, you know, psychological horror films, you got like psychological thrillers. There's so many different things to talk about, and I cannot wait to talk about them. So anyways, guys, let's get started with the very first episode of Exploring Horror. And I am HorrorBoy465, the explorer of horror. And today, guys, we're going to be exploring classic horror films. Now, classic horror films are movies that, even just looking right now, these are all great movies. And they're films that are just so amazing because they can stand the test of time. I can watch a lot of, like, all these movies in this list, I can watch today and be fully entertained. I get, like, thoroughly entertained. Like, these movies are amazing, and I'll be getting into the details of what makes them amazing. But the first one I want to talk about is The Shining. Now, this comes in a 2-pack with Full Metal Jacket, which is also a classic. Love that movie. But The Shining, I think what makes this movie a classic is, you know, it's a slow burn horror film done right, and it's very hard to do a slow burn horror film and make it as good as The Shining is. Because for a slow burn horror film, you have to have the audience engaged. You have to make it to where the audience is not, you know, getting bored with it. You have to make it interesting. You have to make it to where the story is going somewhere. And it's very hard to do that because a lot of filming, a lot of making sure the story is going at a straight forward pace, making sure that the characters are all on track, and making sure the acting is good, and making sure all this stuff is good. So slow burn horror films, I think, you know, I haven't ever like done a slow burn horror film. Like, I've only done like a few short films, but from seeing how much effort and how much time was put into The Shining, which I know unfortunately Stephen King isn't a fan of. I heard that, you know, the novel is much more like a personal thing to Stephen King, and I guess when he watched The Shining, he didn't really like what they did with Jack character. But I love The Shining. I think that Stanley Kubrick's The Shining is a classic horror film, classic slow burn horror film. But what makes it a classic is the acting, the characters, the atmosphere, the very well done cinematography. Stanley Kubrick is, I would say, probably my favorite director of all time because he brings that style that I've only seen very few directors do, that very slow, methodical pace, but yet very interesting style of Stanley Kubrick. And it's like Full Metal Jacket and The Shining. I heard 2001: A Space Odyssey was a bit of a slow burn film. Clockwork Orange, a slow burn film. But the ones I've seen, like The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, Clockwork Orange, all three of those films are amazing films. And they're slow burn. They get slowly into the story, but they keep you so interested because of the style, the way of the filmmaking by Stanley Kubrick, and just having this eerie atmosphere that you really feel like you're watching something with like an evil presence behind it. Like when you watch The Shining, like at least for me, especially during the winter, and like if it's like lots of snow outside and stuff, and it's nighttime, you pop in The Shining, you feel this paranormal like presence within the film. You feel that evil. You feel that creepy. Maybe because of how like the movie is just subtle about it. It's quiet. The shots are very well done. The wide angles, the great shot of when the kid Danny is like riding his bicycle through the hallways, and the cameras keeping it right with him. The quick shots, like seeing like the twin standing there, and then a quick shot of them being like all chopped up into pieces, and just some really well done stuff. And I like how the film like slowly this character Jack falls apart. Jack Nicholson does a great job in this film playing a psycho. Great job of Jack Nicholson. And you just slowly see this character fall apart, and then he becomes this evil maniac killer. And the end of the film is just an explosion of suspense and thrills and awesome, awesome stuff. And like I said, when it comes to slow burn films, it's very hard to achieve that. Like Clockwork Orange and The Shining are like some of the most perfect slow burn films I've seen. Because I'm not really much of a slow burn horror film guy. I mean, if it's done well, then I think it's really cool to see a slow burn horror film. But it has to be done well. Otherwise, at points it can get boring. But that's the thing. Like I never got bored with The Shining ever. There was never a point in The Shining where I got bored. Never. It was always interesting. It has a great atmosphere. Has some intense stuff. And just really, really enjoy The Shining. So I think what makes The Shining a classic is just the fact that you feel this evil presence while watching it. You feel creeped out watching it. To this very day, I get creeped out when I watch The Shining. The score, the subtlety, the suspense, the shocking moments, the crazy stuff that goes on in the film. So yeah, The Shining is just one of those examples of a classic slow burn horror film. I keep pointing out Full Metal Jacket, but I mean to point out The Shining. Yeah, The Shining is a classic slow burn horror film. So yeah, The Shining, another Stanley Kubrick film, Clockwork Orange. Once again, another classic. Once again, Stanley Kubrick just brought a style to this film that I thought was just great. This 70s, futuristic, drugged out of its mind atmosphere. This, and even the poster, that's a great poster right there. And I just love, and this is honestly one of those brilliant films. I wouldn't necessarily say it's probably a horror film. Like if I looked it up, it probably wouldn't be listed in a horror film. I wouldn't think so. It has horror elements in it, but I wouldn't say it's like like a horror film. Like it's kind of hard. I want to see if they call it a horror film, because I mean, part of me does see it be called a horror film, but I also say it's more of a crime film. But you do get that horror film stuff in there with the psycho lead, Alex, played by a very young Malcolm McDowell, who was also in a movie called Caligula. He was in Silent Hill Revelation. He was in Halloween Rob Zombie remake and as well in the sequel as well. But it's not really a horror film. It's more of a crime drama, which is listed here as a crime drama. I could see that. It's not like a straightforward, solid horror film. It's more of a thriller. You also get those bits of horror stuff in there as well. But I can understand someone's like, well, it's not really a horror film. It's more of a crime movie. I would say that, but you do have that little layer of horror in there. So I don't know. I added it in there. I know it's not a full horror film, but it does have that little layer of horror film in it, I think. But just well done atmosphere, the style of it. The movie took a big chance because at the time, this movie was banned. This is a very violent film. Even when I watch it today, when I see this movie today, like nowadays, it was still kind of shocking to see this movie. And to think about, at the time, 1970, what, 71? No, 1971. So this is even before Last House on the Left. And that movie was freaking crazy. But this movie came up in 1971, and I just cannot believe Like, it's just such a risk taker. Like, it's violent, but yeah, I think the violence adds to the movie. It adds to the message of the film. You know, there's a lot of different messages in this film, a lot of different themes in this film, dealing with, you know, of course, A Clockwork Orange means taking something that is organic and living, it's man-made or machine-made, like a clock inside of an orange. So in a way, like they do with Alex, they fix his brain so he can't kill people, he can't hurt people. And in a way, he is the Clockwork Orange. He is once was a human, but due to a machining work by man, now he's the Clockwork Orange. He's been programmed by man. And, you know, the whole message of the film is just like, you know, being in control of what you do. And then this company or this organization fixes Alex's mind to where he can't do anything. He can't kill people. He can't hurt people. He can't think of any like sexual stuff. He can't say any bad language, or he becomes violently ill. And that was a well done message in the film. And I like how it's like a roller coaster ride. You know, the first you think it's just going to be a crime movie, and then boom, it just comes in with this like Alex being put in prison, and while he's there, you know, you get the stuff in prison, and then you get to where he goes to this place, and they do this experiment on him. And what was it called? I don't remember what it was called. I really don't remember. Like I remember it, but I can't. Right on the tip of my tongue, I cannot remember what that test is called. They did that experiment. Gosh, that's gonna drive me crazy. The something experiment. I cannot remember what that experiment's called. But it, you know, it basically, you know, makes it to where he can't do anything violent. He can't think of anything sexual. He can't say anything violent. He can't say anything hurtful. So really, he can't do anything hurtful. He can't do anything violent. He can't do anything like that. And there's a point in the movie where if he actually also, if he hears Beethoven, he, you know, it hurts his ears and stuff. Or no, it makes him sick still. So if he hears like Beethoven, it makes him sick. And there's a point in the movie at the end of the film, it's a very well done like deterioration of the character as well, where, you know, his friends turned on him, and they're cops now. They like almost drowned him. These like homeless people beat the crap out of him. His parents pretty much replace him with another person, like they have somebody else move in his room. So at the end of the film, even though this character Alex is a bad character, at the end of the film, the deterioration was kind of sad to see. I mean, basically everything turns against him, and you know his only option left is suicide. So he jumps out of a freaking window and lands. And from there on, I think he's still alive. And I believe the company or something like that was either they got sued or they had an agreement or something like that at the end of the film. And even the last shot of the movie is like Alex, like a naked chick on top of him. Like, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm cured now," or "Yeah, I'm feeling much better now," or something like that. Crazy, crazy film. And the style of it, added in Beethoven, added in all these great shots and great angles and great cinematography in general. Direction by Stanley Kubrick was well done. Clockwork Orange, even though it's not a solid horror film, like an actual horror film, it's more of a crime thriller, I can still say it's just a really well done classic film that I really enjoy. So Clockwork Orange is a classic. And even then we get to like Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, which is a classic because, you know, back in 1960, you really didn't have films like this. This was 1960, I think. Yeah, 1960. So when Alfred Hitchcock made this film, the controversy for this film, I mean, this movie, when it was made, this was one of those films that I was like, wow, they really did that? Where when it came out, you had to sign a contract or sign a paper that you would not tell anybody of the ending. And the screenings, the actual the theater stuff, those were all done like you couldn't tell the ending. You had to sign a paper not to tell the ending. That was great. That was a great idea. And like, there's some really cool stuff back in the day, like, other films with the 3D stuff. And they add the effects to the chairs, like, I guess during that, what's that movie called? The Tingler. They had these things implanted in the seats and they would shake. That was a freaking great idea. They don't really do that anymore. It's more like, well, IMAX will be 3D. That's fun. But back in the day, they used to have some really cool stuff in theaters. And that was a really cool thing as well. Like, you had to sign a contract or sign a paper that you could not tell anybody the ending. Like, that's really cool idea. It's really just a different idea. It's something that you wouldn't see that anymore. And the movie took, like, it was just such a, like, it took so many chances, and it's a classic for that. When I was watching it, and I've watched films from 1960s as well. This film honestly feels like a modern day film. It doesn't feel like a dated film at all. That's why when I heard about the remake, I'm like, they're remaking Psycho. Well, I wasn't alive when they remade it, but I'm like, they remade Psycho and shot for shot. Ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. A shot for shot remake only in color, pretty much. Yeah, there's a few different stuff here and there I've heard, but I heard it was pretty much a shot for shot remake. The same exact movie, only in color. That's crazy. I can't believe they would remake Psycho and just do that. But, there's also Psycho 2, which I want to see. Psycho 3, which I want to see. I'm interested in seeing as well. I know there's like a fourth movie that's like a direct-to-video film called like Bates Motel. Not the TV show, the actual like TV movie, Bates Motel, or TV, direct-to-DVD, whatever movie, Bates Motel. And then there's a TV show. But Psycho just has some great acting, great shots. The black and white gave it a really good style, a really good feel. And just a really well done, really well shot, smart, clever horror film that when you watch it nowadays, especially like the quality of this DVD, it honestly doesn't feel much different than a modern day film. Like, it feels like a modern day film. Like, if you're watching a movie from nowadays or from 2008 or 9 or something like that, sometime modern. Like, it does. It's that clever and that smart, and the acting is that well done, and the story is that well done. And it's kind of a slow start, but I thought that it was, a well done slow start. Like, I didn't get bored with it at all. The scenes, like, the end of the film where you see, or towards the end of the film where the Norman Bates character puts the car in a quicksand, or even the infamous scene where Janet Leigh, that character right there, is in the shower and she gets stabbed. And you see blood. Not a lot of it, but you see some blood. And that was like the first time that you had somebody actually killing somebody on screen, I think. I think so. Besides, like, guns, or maybe a sword fight, or maybe like, some other stuff that really wasn't too graphic. But this was a murder. A cold-blooded murder. The first time that you've seen this in a film. Somebody getting killed like that. It's a very well done scene, and this classic where, the shower curtain, the ring, 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 and you see it stabbing, the person stabbing Janet Leigh, and you even see blood, and it was just a very, 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 very risk-taking film, a very brave film. Alfred Hitchcock, I'm really interested in seeing his work now. I want to see stuff like Vertigo. I know that there's The Birds. I want to see that too. Just a lot of his films I want to see. And, just a very smart, well done, brave, risk-taking horror film that will be remembered forever because it was a film ahead of the times. It was way ahead of the times. So yeah, Psycho is definitely a classic. The next film is my favorite horror film of all time, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. When this movie came out, it was sort of one of those films that helped kick open the door for the slasher films. Of course, Friday the 13th would also like kick the door open for slasher films in the 80s, but this helped in that, and it also helped build that you know, that thing that you see in horror films where, you know, these teens, they go up to a house and they get murdered off one by one. It sort of built that. I think someone just fell out of it. Yeah, DVD fell out. But this is my favorite horror film of all time because this is also another film that was just way ahead of the times, and it just had that grittiness to it. One of the most realistic horror films I've ever seen. It has well done acting, realistic acting, in my opinion. The music, it's not really music, it's more like sound effects, but it's really well done, creepy. Really, really creepy film. Just a really, really creepy film. Really enjoyed this movie. I won't say like a lot about it because I've already reviewed the movie twice. I did an audio commentary on it. I did a ranking of the franchise. I did pretty much all that I could do to, like, you know, talk about this movie. I ranked the franchise. I did a commentary on this film with Steve. I did 2 reviews on the movie. So there's 2 reviews up, and there's multiple Texas Massacre videos up on my channel. But the bottom line is that this movie is just amazing, gritty, realistic, and just once again ahead of the times. It was definitely ahead of the times, and just brought that realisticness, like that. Only very few horror films I've seen brought that grittiness and that realisticness to it. So yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, my favorite horror film of all time. Definitely a classic. Another classic that's, you know, even today, very well done. Jaws, which I haven't reviewed these movies yet. I really want to. So maybe sometime during the summer, probably do reviews on the Jaws movies. Once I can get them all, I think I got the other 3 on VHS. I got Jaws 2, Jaws 3, Jaws 4. I might have those on VHS. So if I can find those VHS tapes, heck, I'll do reviews from the Jaws movies this summer. But Jaws is a very fun horror film that's PG, but yet it has blood in it. It has this scene right here where you have a naked girl swimming in the water. Of course, it's PG, don't see much, but heck, man, you still a PG movie with a naked chick swimming in the water and blood and people getting bit and blood, like, it's still a risk taker, and the effects really well done. I know for the longest time they couldn't get the shark to work. It was not working right, and I know that for the longest time they couldn't get the shark to work. So they would do like shots of a real shark. They try to enlarge it, do some sort of illusion or angle where it may look bigger. But when you finally do see the shark, the actual shark effect, it is well done. It's a giant shark, practical. Just would imagine me, like I would just imagine if I was on a boat and I seen this shark, I'd be flipping out. So that's really well done. Sort of that thing where you can put yourself in the character's shoes and be like, man, if I seen that shark, I'd crap my pants. Which, you know, I know there was a ride out for a long time at Universal Studios, and it was a Jaws ride. And when I went there, unfortunately, it was taken down. But I was able to find the statue of the Jaws ride and took a picture with it. I took a picture like sitting there like this. Took a picture right next to Jaws, and that shark is freaking huge. Like, I thought I was tall, but then I get next to that thing, I'm freaking puny. So, you know, it's definitely cool seeing Jaws statue. That was pretty cool. But Jaws is a fun time, an absolutely fun time. It's also got I think it's got a long run time, but it didn't bother me at all. It really didn't. Yeah, 2 hours and 4 minutes. So it is a long movie, but it didn't bother me at all. So yeah, I mean, you get a 2-disc set. You get the first disc and the second disc, which pretty much look the same. You also get a really, really cool booklet with some really cool stuff in it, some pictures. And you get a quote by Steven Spielberg. Yeah, you get a quote right there, Steven Spielberg. And you open it up and you get some pictures, some really nice stuff. I believe this was like $18 to pick this up. I think so, $18, $17. And of course, get the cast. You get. I also know you get a signature in here somewhere of Steven Spielberg's signature. Like you get his signature. But yeah, like right there, some great stuff. I was reading it. I read it a few times actually. It's pretty interesting. Right there on the beach. I know it's like, come on, man, but I'm trying to find that Steven Spielberg signature. I know it's somewhere in this book. Well, yeah, I don't know where it's at. It's somewhere in the book somewhere, but I can't. Oh, here it is. You actually get right there. This, I don't think it's like an actual hand signed signature, but you do get at least a copy of it. Steven Spielberg. So as you see this DVD out there, I thought it for very cheap. It's the 30th anniversary edition of Jaws. Comes with a book, looks great on DVD, has great audio, and just a really well done box set. Just a really, really well done box set. But yeah, Jaws is a fun classic horror film. It's fun, it's entertaining. It's once again a long film, but it doesn't bother me at all. So yeah, Jaws, once again a classic. Another slow burn horror film, The Fly, which I did a review for not that long ago, and I love this film. And once again, The Fly just has that great thing about the movie where, yeah, the effects are also really great, but the strong thing about this movie is the acting. Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis, John Getz. Great, great, awesome acting. These characters were freaking amazing in the film. You know, Professor Blum, what's his name? Yeah, it's Professor like Blum, whatever. I don't remember his first name, but you know, Jeff Goldblum plays him. Gina Davis is also in the film, did a great job, and the acting was just amazing. The effects also are great. The effects are amazing, but also the acting is really well done. So yeah, The Fly. The strong points about this movie is the acting and the effects. And this one is a film that helped start the slasher genre. Friday the 13th, the first one, right there. Yeah, I consider it to be a classic. I mean, a lot of people nowadays are like, well, it's not really as good as the others. I would say it's the best one. It's the film with the best atmosphere. Like, you really buy summer camp. Like, you know, atmospheres in part 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, those are all well done as well. But there's something about the way the first movie is shot. There's something about the way that Sean Cunningham shot the first movie that gives it a very good, realistic summertime, summer camp feel. And you have, like, just the formula for the slasher film being established, some great gore effects, and it's uncut, so you get even more gore, which is great. And it basically set the standard for slasher films. So yeah, Friday the 13th is a classic. These next two they also have a similar thing that makes them a classic. That is The Evil Dead and Halloween. Now, what I think is similar about this film is that they both had low budgets to make their films with. And even though they had low budgets, they still made a great, great film. John Carpenter working on Halloween. This is literally one of the greatest horror films ever. I mean, John Carpenter made this, The Thing. Those two are just some of the greatest horror films ever made. And I'm just honestly saying that, yeah, this is like one of the greatest horror films I've ever seen. And on Blu-ray, I mean, it brings so much more out of the film. Like, it brings so much more detail to it. It's beautiful on Blu-ray. It's clear. The audio is great. They added surround sound stuff to it. They added some new sound effects to it, which is really cool. The soundtrack is really well done, very clear, and it adds even more to the film. This is honestly, if you're going to see Halloween, see it on Blu-ray. I mean, it looks amazing on Blu-ray. It sounds amazing, looks amazing. I mean, one more can I say about Halloween? It's one of the greatest horror films of all time. And The Evil Dead, it also did that, where they had a low budget, really, really low budget. But Sam Raimi made one of my favorite horror films of all time. He made one of the greatest horror films of all time. And It's The Evil Dead. It's fun. Yeah, the acting is kind of bad, but it adds something to the film. The bad acting adds to this film. It adds something to it. The effects, that sometimes you can tell they're fake, but it still adds. Like you would think they'd be negatives, they'd be bad things, but no, they add to this film. And the atmosphere, the sound effects, the great audio to the film. The third act of the film is great. Some really, really well done shots. Love The Evil Dead. So that's another classic. One of the greatest anthology films of all time, Creepshow. And this is one of the greatest ones because I pretty much like all the stories on this. I mean, you got the first one, which is Happy Father's Day, I believe was what it's called. It's great. Even stuff like, the one star Stephen King, the lonesome death of, what was that called? The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill, which stars Stephen King. Really, really well done. Something that Tied You Over. It's actually well done. It also has, I believe she's from Dawn of the Dead. I believe this is like one of the very few films she'd gone to do, and she did a great job in this film. And I like the idea as well, where you got Leslie Nielsen playing a bad guy. He does a good job at it, and he buried these people in the sand up to their heads, and the tide comes in and drowns them, but they come back as zombies. You also got, after that thing, you got The Crate. Yeah, you got The Crate, which is amazing. Tom Savini helping the effects. Pretty much all of these. But on this one, you have a great creature. You have this crate. It's really well done. There's also the last one, I believe, which is actually the last one is they're creeping up on you. But there's also one before I called Just Tell It to Call You Billy. And then I don't know. Yeah, there's I don't think I think that's a scene or something like that. But there's also the last one, which was called They're Creeping Up on You, which is dealing with the cockroaches, they're real cockroaches. And on set, they were out of control. Like, they were crawling everywhere. But this is one of the greatest anthology films because great, great stories, great acting, great fun cast, a very fun time. This is a movie that I really wish I had seen in theaters. It's a absolutely fun film. That's a blast to watch. And I love that poster as well. The most fun you'll ever have being scared. That's definitely true. It's fun. It's a fun time. So you Creepshow. Anthology horror film, naturally well made. The Thing. Once again, one of my favorite horror films of all time and one of the greatest horror films of all time. Unfortunately, it didn't do too well. When it came out, it didn't make that much money. I think it came out around the time of E.T., and E.T. made a little more money than it, and it kind of didn't make that much money back. So I believe John Carpenter, after this film, was in big trouble with the studio. Like, they was mad because it wasn't a hit. And they wanted more money out of the film. So I believe this movie right here, I believe The Thing, after The Thing came out and it didn't do that well, I believe John Carpenter was told by the studio that, he was in big trouble because it bombed. I think this is the film that happened with. I think so. I'm not too sure, so don't quote me on that, but, I think this is the film that, when it bombed, the studio wasn't too happy about it. I think so. But The Thing is just a well-shot film with great acting, a great cast, and once again has a very subtle, suspenseful atmosphere. The atmosphere of the snow and the ice and stuff is really well done. The idea that this thing can mimic you without any flaws. The idea that you don't know who's human and who's not. person next to you is human or not. That's really well done. Suspenseful as heck. Really, really well done. Suspense. John Carpenter really handled the direction really well, camera work really well. The Ennio Morricone score was really well done. Well, the main thing, the main theme of the film, and just a great film. This is also the first movie that I reviewed on this channel. Believe it or not, the Thing is the very first movie I reviewed on the, well, at the time it was Nate Murphy, but now it's Boy465. But back in 2013 when I first joined YouTube, this is the first video that I made was on the Thing. So yeah, it's just a very special film, and it's definitely going to go down as one of the greatest horror films ever made. So yeah, The Thing. This one, I won't be opening up the case because it's a bit broken right now, and if I open up, things will fall out. So Dracula, which I love this box set right here, or this case, has the material of a book. You know, you feel like you're holding a book when you're holding it, and just really well done artwork on it. And the thing about Dracula is that I believe it's a 1931 film or 33 film, I can't remember. But it's really well done. I love the original Dracula. Now, this edition comes with the Spanish version, so one day we'll check out the Spanish version of Dracula. I really do want to see the Spanish version of Dracula. I heard that technically speaking, it was a more better film than the English version of Dracula. So Dracula came out in 1931. So 31 was when it came out, 1931. But Dracula is just a masterpiece. The style of it, the way that this movie was shot was really well done. The usage of shadows and dark atmosphere was really well done. That classic Dracula, you are too late. My blood now flows through her veins. She will live to the centuries to come. And I have lived. Or, for even a person who lived a single lifetime, you are a wise man, Van Helsing. Or the scene where Van Helsing gives him the mirror, and he looks at it and goes, and then he says that line. Or at the beginning of the film, I bid you welcome. And he's like, I do not drink wine. And just so many great dialogue, so much great dialogue from Bela Lugosi. Bela Lugosi is amazing in this film. Like, Bela Lugosi is a legend. Like, he did a great job in the film. You definitely believe this is Dracula. And yeah, nowadays that they've made parodies of it. You know, there's Count Chocula, there's been all kinds of versions of Dracula, but Bela Lugosi is a classic. You know, Bela Lugosi set that standard that, you know, you think of Dracula, you think of the cape, you think of, you know, the English attire, and, you know, the collar flipped up, the cape around it, the widow's peak. You think of all of that when you think of Dracula, you know, and how Bela Lugosi will just move slowly like this. And, you know, he's not like he's just, the way he plays Dracula is just very slow, methodic, you know, doesn't rush it, doesn't try to make Dracula energized and stuff. No, he just slowly creeps up to people, or he'll slowly creep up to the lead girl in the movie while she's sleeping. Just really well done stuff. And the dialogue is great. Of course, Bela Lugosi and Van Helsing, they're like the only two people I care about in the film. The rest of the cast, well, also was it Remington character? Or, what was that? Remington or something? Like the guy at the beginning of the film who turns crazy, he did a great job as well. So those three characters, those are really well done, but the rest of the cast I don't really care for. Like the lead girl, the lead, and the other, and her boyfriend or husband, whatever. I didn't care for those actors. Some of the other actors in the film I didn't care for, but just it's well shot, and I think it's gonna stand the test of time because it's just the style of it, that gothic black and white style, just never gets old, and it's gonna be a masterpiece for years to come. But I do want to see the Spanish version of Dracula because I did hear that, technically speaking, it is a better made film than the original English version of Dracula. So one day I will see the Spanish version. Another slow burn horror film that I think is a classic, The Exorcist. Now, the book by William Peter Blatty is a book that I really want to read. I also want to read Legion, which is the book Exorcist 3. But written by um, crap. William Friedkin. It was weird how they put the director, because usually it's at the end of this, credits right here, but it's the top. But William Friedkin captured a great atmosphere. Once again, a very slow burn film. It's definitely a long movie, but never got bored. I was intrigued in the film. It's just one of those films that also you feel an evil presence while watching this. You feel this demonic presence in this film, and it's well shot. Some really intense scenes, some really disturbing scenes, and I think it'll always be one of the greatest horror films of all time. But yeah, really enjoy The Exorcist. Classic film. It's a long film, but I didn't think it didn't bore me at all. Really enjoy it. But yeah, The Exorcist. Really enjoy it. And also From Dusk Till Dawn. Yes, I think this is a classic. And people are like, well, it's not really a classic. I mean, some people have said that it's not really a classic. That's more of just a fun Robert Rodriguez film. I think that's a classic. I think this is a fun, entertaining vampire film with lots of gore, well done filmmaking, a great score, a great atmosphere, a cast of characters that are interesting and great and fun. The acting is really well done. Direction is really well done. The story is really well done. So I mean, that's why I can say it's a classic, because it has all that good stuff to it. And Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino, this is when they were, friends, and they decided to make this film. And it's a great time. George Clooney is great in the film. Harvey Keitel is great. Juliette Lewis is great. And you also got Machete, Danny Trejo, just Trejo, I think. Danny Trejo. And it's well done, well directed by Robert Rodriguez. Has that great atmosphere of the bar they go to, and has this sense of just badassness. Like, that's the word that I think of when I think of From Dusk Till Dawn. It's just badass, and it's well done. Well done. From Dusk Till Dawn is a fun classic horror film, but it's fun because it's a gore fest. It has the atmosphere to it that's really well done. The fun, or the idea that it sort of starts off as a crime film, and then it boom, right in the middle of the movie, it goes into a vampire film, and it's a gore fest, and it's great. But yeah, From Dusk Till Dawn is definitely a classic film in my opinion. Next film is Poltergeist. Watched this the other night. I gotta say, this is a classic film, spectacular film. It's a masterpiece. Really enjoy Poltergeist, and it's because you really buy these characters. You really do. You think these characters are very realistic. They're put in a situation with ghosts and stuff, and Poltergeist, and there's Poltergeist happening, and you really buy the reaction. You really feel sorry for the family. And the girl who played Carolyn did a good job. Unfortunately, she passed away, I believe, after Poltergeist 3. Unfortunately, she did a great job in these films. Unfortunately, though, she did pass away. So rest in peace to trying to think, what was her name? But the girl who played Carolyn, she passed away, unfortunately. I believe it was after Poltergeist 3. Like, after Poltergeist 3, like, I heard that, something happened to where it's like an unexplained thing. Like, they couldn't really explain why she passed away. Hang on real quick, guys. Oliver Rock, no. Heather O'Rourke. Rest in peace to Heather O'Rourke. She did a great job in this film. Did a great job in these films. Like, in Poltergeist 3 as well. And you know, it's sad and unfortunate that she passed away. So rest in peace to her. Did a great job in these films. And also, this is one of those movies that during the making of it, like, well, at least afterwards, like, some creepy stuff happened. Um, I believe the daughter, like the teenager daughter, I think she got killed by her boyfriend with an axe. And then I think the mom, like the actress in real life, she had to go to psychiatric evaluation because you know there was real skeletons used in the film during the pulse or the scene, like there's like skeletons in the water and stuff. During that scene, there's real skeletons, and she had to go through psychiatric evaluation. Um, just some crazy, crazy stuff that happened to the cast afterwards, after this film. But yeah, Poltergeist is just well done. It has a little bit of Toby Hooper, a little bit of Spielberg. You know, it has great shots and great acting, and you know this great paranormal feel to it. But then Toby Hooper also adds in that realism. You know, the real characters, the realistic situations, and how they could react in real life. Toby Hooper adds that in. So yeah, Poltergeist, definitely a classic. Next film is by John Carpenter once again, The Fog, classic. Now this movie, I can say this movie probably only has, from what I can remember, only like maybe one small problem, and that's that at times it can get a little bit sluggish, the pace can, but most time it is a decent pace. But besides that, The Fog is a classic because you know you have the great idea of a fog with these killer ghosts in them, and I always thought like you know fog was a great idea for a horror film, like adding in something to a fog, like taking a fog and adding in something into it that can harm you and kill you. Like it's a great idea, you know, to put that in there because you know the fog, like fog is always sorry about that. The fog is always eerie and creepy, so to put like you know ghosts in it and stuff that can kill you, great idea. And the atmosphere is well done. Acting by Tom Atkins, Jamie Lee Curtis, really well done. John Carpenter's score is really well done, and it's just a classic horror film. Love The Fog, great film. Of course, I hate the remake. I despise the Fog remake because this movie is a masterpiece. You don't need a remake to The Fog. I love this film. You don't need a remake. You don't need a remake, especially PG-13, bland, boring crap. That was the Fog remake. PG-13, not much happened. Typical horror film, CGI, horrible remake. The Fog remake. I hate the Fog remake. But yeah, the original Fog was a masterpiece. Another masterpiece is Alien, which is also in this 3-pack with Aliens and Alien 3. Aliens is also a classic, so I could definitely put Alien and Aliens in this list. So, Alien and Aliens, classics. Alien is more of a classic because it's a slow burn, well done, interesting, like subtle horror film. That's a very quiet. It can get very quiet at times, and then at times it can just explode, and all this crazy stuff happens. And that was really well handled. The effects were really well done. The designs, the set designs, those were all well done. The score was great. Love the poster. Love the trailer. Really, really enjoy it. Aliens is a classic because it's a more of an action film. You know, you have these Marines going and shooting multiple aliens and practical explosions and practical aliens being blown to bits and practical effects. It's definitely rated R. Definitely the ending fight with the alien queen is really well done as well, where you have Ripley versus the alien queen. Ripley's in that power or that suit, that like armor. It's not power armor. That's like Fallout 4. But it's like this giant suit, like this giant metal suit that she gets in, and you get that class like, "Get away from her, you bitch!" Love that line. And then Alien 3 is not a classic. I haven't seen Alien 3 in forever. forever. I haven't seen Alien 3 in years upon years, so I have to give it a watch again. But from what I can remember, I'm just not a big fan of Alien 3. Don't remember much, but I remember not being that interesting. I know Matt despises the film, and his rant was hilarious, but I haven't seen Alien 3 in such a long time. I'm gonna have to give it a watch. I haven't seen it in forever. But yeah, Alien and Aliens, definitely classics. Alien is much more of a slow burn horror film with great acting and great characters. Alien is more of an action film. So yeah, they're both classics for different reasons. But yeah, Alien and Aliens, classics. And then we get to the last film I got in this stack, which is there's many more classics over there, but I didn't want to get all those films out and talk about all those films. Last I'm talking about is Nightmare on Elm Street by Wes Craven. And Wes Craven, this is a film that really helped New Line get big. Like, Wes Craven worked with a small budget, very little bit of money, and he made some of the best horror scenes I've ever seen. He made some of the greatest scenes in horror history, whether it be the Tina scene where she gets stabbed in the stomach and floating up against the ceiling, which still looks great to this day, and she falls down and explodes in blood, or the alley scene where Freddy Krueger stretches his arm up and scratches the walls, or the scene where Johnny Depp is on the bed. Classic scene. I love the scene where Freddy Krueger pops out of the bed, pulls Glenn down, and like a pool of blood squirts out. The great ending where Nancy is fighting back against Freddy Krueger, has all these booby traps set up, and like Freddy Krueger gets hit by a sledgehammer. She puts like gunpowder in a lamp. When it turns on, it explodes. Catches Freddy Krueger on fire. Definitely some great stuff. The great scene where Freddy Krueger like comes out of the bed slowly, then tears to the sheet. Just so many great scenes in the film. So many great scenes. Of course, Come to Freddy, and you have that scene where Angie's like, "This is a dream. It's not real. It's a dream. This isn't real. It isn't real." And then our mirror's right here. It breaks, and Freddy Krueger jumps through it. So really great stuff. But yeah, Wes Craven had very little money to work. Had very little money to work on this film with, and just made a great film. He used that budget to have some great effects, and a lot of these effects were just very easy to do, but they work so well on film. They look great on film, and the idea of Freddy Krueger, this guy who can kill you in your dreams, creepy idea because you can't run anywhere in your dreams. You can't. You can escape Jason Voorhees. You can escape Michael Myers. You can just run away from them. In Freddy's world, you can't avoid Freddy Krueger. He'll just basically, when you're in his room, in his world, he'll basically decide when you die. So you can't escape your dreams, and eventually you have to fall asleep. So it's definitely a creepy idea, and the character Freddy Krueger has become one of the legendary horror film icons of all time. And Wes Craven, rest in peace, he did a great job in the film. The film's a masterpiece, and I really enjoy it. But I think what makes films classic, real quick, gotta get a drink real quick. But what I think makes films classics is they're usually films at least very well made into the times, or a film made ahead of the times. They're usually films that take chances. They're usually films that have a lot of care into them. They're usually films that everybody worked hard on. Every single ounce of energy was used to make the film and to make it one of the greatest movies of all time. And it doesn't matter about budget. It doesn't matter about how much money you have. It's about how much heart you have, how much heart you put into the making of the film, how much effort you put into the making of the film. It's about how much you try and how much effort you put into making a classic horror film. And that's what makes a classic horror film. Great performances, great acting, great stories that haven't been done before, stories that are, you know, their own, stories that are original and have their own stuff going on. And yeah, that's pretty much makes the film a classic. And those are some examples of classic horror films. And yeah, so classic horror films, they're usually just really well done, have a lot of effort put into them, and it doesn't matter about how much money you have. It's about how much effort you put into it. It's about how much heart you put into a film. It's about how much you try your best to make a good film, and you'll make a classic. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching episode 1 of Exploring Horror. I am the Explorer of Horror, HorrorBoy465, and I will see you guys in the next episode of Exploring Horror. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching the video. The Explorer of Horror out. See you guys.